Welcome. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Teresa, for putting me together with Professor Gonzalez. Most of us got a similar background, physical designers. But his research focuses on water. My research focuses on the land. The topic is about contemporary urban design in Chinese cities. Why we have discussed quite a lot about the shortage of public open space. And how about the oversupply of the public space is another case. So the discussion will start from the background of urbanization in China in the last 30 years especially. And focus on three types of urban design projects in Chinese cities. The first one is urban renewal, as we all know that in 1950s, 60s in the States, but now this is in Chinese cities. I took some cases, especially from Shanghai, my hometown, and Shenzhen, the new town, newly developed town, not a new town at all. And we have new towns, very typical new towns built in the big cities like Hangzhou and Suzhou. And then see some urban design developments for big events such as the Olympic Games 2008 and the World Expo 2010 in Shanghai and other big events. And after review of those kind of design projects, we'll get some comments on the costs and the challenges facing Chinese cities in this line. One is uneven development in terms of between different regions, urban versus rural development, rich versus poor communities, and also in terms of, I think you heard quite a lot about the rural-urban migration and the urban social infrastructure, although the physical infrastructure is there, but how about the social infrastructure? Then more deeply is the conflict between the modernization and the Chinese culture. People view modernization to a certain extent is westernization versus the Chinese tradition or the China approach, whether or not this is the one. And the physical improvement versus social changes. And of course, we heard quite a lot about the environmental cost. First of all, just a quick review of the process of China's urbanization, both in terms of the size and the distribution. Possibly we can, at least we find some notable characteristics of the process of urbanization in China. The first one is, of course, a huge population base given China is the largest country in terms of its population. Currently it's 1.4 billion about. Then secondly, you see ups and downs if you review the trajectory of the process of urbanization. And the rapid development growth is basically started from after the reform by the end of the 1970s, beginning of the 1980s. And then finally, you will see the uneven distribution pattern. So we don't have enough time to review all those courses, although there are tons of publications discuss why things happen such a way in China. And you got to think about China's history, cultural norms, and also to a certain extent urban policy. As I just gave the comments this morning, planning is very much contextual based. So you got to think about the context. Otherwise, you couldn't really understand what's going on. Then the urbanization level, the last census found at 2012 is more than 50% of the huge population now living in urbanized areas. So given the population size and the rapid increase of urban residents, so there is a demand, that's for sure, right? So we need more service in terms of housing, urban space, all those kind of things. So urban development received the priority on the agenda. This is reasonable. Then, what kind of things you will see? Basically, all those huge projects concentrated in the East Coast region. If you think of China, you could divide it into 4 zones. The northeast zone, this is traditionally the industry zone, just like the northeast area in the United States. But then you have the green area, which is the rich, the more developed East Coastal zone. Then you have the yellow zone, which is in middle China. It's sort of improving, see its future, brighter future. But then you have the huge territory, which is the underdeveloped, the west area. If you put the line between the corner and to the end, actually about 85% of the population on the east side. Only 15% of the population stay in the west. So this is uneven. So as I said, we can review three types of contemporary urban design projects in China. First one is the renewal projects. Actually, urban renewal projects that take place in almost all Chinese cities, you can find everywhere. Everywhere looks like a construction site. You can see this kind of activity, especially in the last 15 years or so. No slowdown, a little bit given China's economy is a little bit slowed down. The second one is you see lots of new towns, but new towns basically they are constructed and built in the rich area, which is the East Coast area, in sort of big cities. Think about the definition of a big city in China. At least 1 million being considered middle city, and 5 million is a big city. And it's not unusual to see cities with 10 million population. This is considered a real big city. So if you have a population more than 5 million, then possibly see the efforts try to build new towns to host migrants from rural to urban. The third type of urban design projects is for big events. As I said, Olympic Games, World Expo, and Asian Games, and so on and so on. Then if you check those kind of projects, you possibly can find some interesting things similar. One is that most of those large-scale urban design projects are government invested and government-led, and they are located in the east developed zones in big cities. Secondly, you will see this is really large-scale and huge investment. For instance, the Shanghai World Expo 2010, the investment was about 70 American billions for one event. It's huge. The third one is that oftentimes you see sort of what's the driving force? Why do this? Multiple purposes. Stimulate economic growth is number one. Research found that with the big events and those kind of huge investment on urban design projects, it actually contributes about 1.5 to 2% of GDP. So it's huge. Secondly, of course, creating new jobs. The unemployment rate from official records showing it's something around 3%. But the real situation possibly worse than that. But that's important to have a new project, new investment in those projects. So that contributed to lower the unemployment rate, creating new jobs. But most of those jobs are temporary jobs. Those are construction jobs, not a permanent job like in manufacturing companies or service industry. Most important motivation for local government getting involved in those kind of investing in those big projects is try to show social stability and political legitimacy. If the government is not elected freely by the government, then they got to show everybody say that I'm doing a good job. So showing some impressive projects is very important politically. Also try to give the credit to the mayor. So mayor will take those things very personally. I think that this is the same as in the United States. If you want to be elected as mayor, you got to show your people say that I'm doing a good job, right? And so those kind of purpose are, to a certain extent, yes, they are there to a certain extent. You will see those things, as I said, they contributed to economic growth in the last 15 years or so. They created new jobs. especially absorb lots of rural-urban migrants, help them to find jobs in the city. The last one is just from my professional bias, which is the quality is very good. Why? Because most of those projects are designed by top American and European teams, like SOM. I talked to the leadership of SOM. SOM told me that in the last 10 years, 60% of the revenue from China, which means more than 60% of their projects is for China, for Chinese cities. They got a big revenue. So Sazaki, Piano, which is a European team, KPF, American team, Zaha Hadid, and those kind of big names. You just name it, you will see their projects over in those big cities, right? So those projects represent the world-class contemporary urban design principles and traits. So we'll see this is well done. I don't know, can you see it clearly?
We can see.
So this is the new Pudong New District in Shanghai. The district got a population of 1.6 million. Actually, the size is more than a big city in the US, but they call it still a district because Shanghai got a total population of 23 million, right? That's why Professor Martin Jeffy, when we traveled in China, he saw the city of Shanghai. He said, okay, Shanghai is New York plus LA, as high as New York, as broad as LA. So this is the new Hong Kong area. So this is new CBD over there. All those things were constructed in the last 20 years. So in the last 20 years, Shanghai alone got 6,600 high-rise buildings. Caused a problem because the earth couldn't support in a very limited area to support all those concentration of high-rise buildings. This is next to my home. It's a mixed use redevelopment to those kind of urban renewal projects. The quality is quite good. This is by Chinese designers. This is, you will see this almost everywhere. And this is for sort of big events. This is Shanghai Water Support Center, Water Sport Center. It's a combination, the team by Chinese and American designers. But all those things, to many people, is sort of input, westernized, those kind of style. So there is a louder voice based on the nationalism, those kind of consideration, whereas the traditional Chinese style. You see some efforts try to preserve the traditional Chinese cityscape. This is the traditional one in Shanghai, in downtown Shanghai. And this is new development. The traditional, basically 1 story, 2 stories, now you have 6 stories, but with the same coat. Try to put the Chinese flavor on to those kind of new development rather than the big box, which is more like a so-called modern. So you do have the efforts. Then you will see more developments funded by foreign companies and used by foreign firms, such as Starbucks Coffee, which is located, the project is located in the most important part of the city. Used to be the French colonial, French Quarter, just if we use what New Orleans calls. So we'll see those kind of developments. And the designer oftentimes top teams, as I say. This is the new development, new public open space. Is by SOM. And the urban design was led by Benjamin Ward. It's another very famous designer in this field. It's well done. Then you see lots of commercial developments in the city as urban renewal projects, like this one. I don't see it very clear, unfortunately. That's why I try to turn the lights, turn off the lights. And the lots of investment actually put on infrastructure improvement. such as the new railroad station. The new railroad station actually it's influenced by the transportation hub in Berlin, which is the connection of high-speed railroad, high-speed trains with subway, with long-distance bus and other transportation facilities. But having said that, you still see the gap between the rich and the poor. Even the richest city, such as in Shanghai, this is the city's backyard. The front yard itself sort of underdeveloped. You can still see the situation like that. The picture was taken about 2 years ago. So you still see those kind of things, which will remind us that China is still a developing country. It's not really developed. But even developed country, you will still see sort of underdeveloped areas, right? I mentioned about rapid urbanization. A typical case in the city of Shenzhen, the village was with a population of 20,000, but very fast in 30 years now is 14 million. From 20,000 to 40 million is within about 20 years. So this kind of things, then you will see the central districts and the office camp. So urban design and placemaking, this is basically for economic growth. You may call it new liberalism policy or sort of gentrification, but this is what happened. Then we move to new towns. Here is the master plan designed by S1 again. Where's the control? I think we have something. I borrow Dr. Gonzalez, you have the point? S1 designed the new town around 3 themes. One theme is the cultural center, which is basically here. One is entertainment center, and one is commercial center, and we'll show individually each of them. So this is from Google Earth. The whole project was completed within 6 years. So now you will see here, this is the cultural center, this is the commercial center, this is the recreational center. The shopping center. This is the cultural center. And this is the recreational center. There are many of those new towns designed by jointly by top leading urban design teams, such as this one by Canadian teams, a group of architects and designers. This is the city of Hangzhou. This was the proposal, the model. But within 6 years, complete. So this is the new civic building, service center. You have all kinds of planning bureau and those kind of things inside the building. And this is cultural center, this is theater, just like we saw from the model here. The designer called this is the sun, and this is the moon, and this is the central part of the plaza, and with the platform, the deck. And then I will move to the projects for big events, such as the Olympic Games in Beijing. This jointly by designers, architects from Switzerland and some Chinese designers. And this is China Performing Arts Center by French team. Then also big events in Shanghai. This is World Expo 2010. This is the China Pavilion. And those year developments. So we see the achievements, sort of the projects, as I said, was a good quality, but then there is a cost. First of all, we ought to think about the socio-economic environment costs. socially relocation of the residents. This is contributed to lots of social unrest. From the research found that about 60% of the problem, they appeal problem or they just go to court is because of displacement, relocation, 60%. So it's huge. Secondly, overbuilding, as I said. Invest too much money on public open space, especially those big buildings. What's the use after the events? You spend that much money, $70 billion for the huge projects as we have seen. So this is to a certain extent worth the investment. And because the loss of agricultural land due to urban sprawl, because it also seems most possibly built in suburban areas, in urban areas, then they cause the loss of agricultural land, right? And in the future, uneven development and sustainability, how could China maintain those kind of fast developers speed? And as I say, the modernization and the traditional Chinese culture, there's a conflict and lots of discussion, debate over what to do. The current president of China said that we should pay more attention to the traditional Chinese culture rather than make Chinese cities sort of an architecture lab for those star architects, like Rem Koolhaas and those big names. They design whatever they want, but actually not really fits into the context. Physical improvement versus social change is another challenge. With the theme of the World Expo 2010, they call it Better City, Better Life. But then how about a better ruler, not just a better city, right? How about a better life for everybody? Because if you check the Gini index from IMF, the website showing that Gini index for China 2013 was 0.48, which is higher than that in the US. Then to the younger generation, they like the beauty of those kind of modern architecture, but they also express their concerns of those kind of input to the urban design styles. Should we just continue those things, given that there is a much louder voice of a nationalist among people? So finally, could those kind of called the China model working also for other developing countries? I was invited to give lectures a couple of times to Asian Development Bank. We have trainees sitting over there from Bangladesh, from other sort of really poor countries. They try to learn the Chinese model, but my question is, could you use it, just like this morning, about the taxi model from Singapore, which is a much more developed society, to a totally different context from there. Right. So finally, we see those kind of pictures. We'll show you two of them, I think. One is that if you have a population, the city population is 22 million, but you already got 6.2 million cars. That's what you will see in Russia. Occupy the whole highway, elevated way, nowhere to go. And yes, we need high density, but how high is really high? Is this high enough or not enough? So that's my comments. Thank you.